Hold up. All y'all love Across the Spider-Verse, but you haven't been watching one of the best superhero cartoons on TV? Man, y'all got to stop sleeping on Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. Welcome back to the Super Not Funny Show Reviews. And today I'm going to be reviewing Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur Season 1, animated superhero show coming to you from Marvel. It's on Disney Channel and streaming on Disney Plus. So, what did I think about it, and should you be watching? And before we get into the review, get down there, hit like on this video. Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, I have made no bones about it since I first heard that it was going to be coming to Disney or Disney Plus. I have been all over this, at just from the get-go. It's based on a comic book that I really liked from about a decade and a half ago. About a middle schooler named Lunella Lafayette lives in the Lower East Side of Harlem. She is also a super genius and becomes a superhero as a result. The Marvel Comics is not as kiddie. It's younger, trending, not as kiddish. And this one is clearly a more aimed at kids sort of production. And that's all right, because in the context of, what it's trying to do, this is pretty dang great. I think that this could be one of my favorite animated shows ever. Like it is from the get-go, just a super charming, fun, a distillation of not just the sort of tween, genre, but also superhero stuff. There's a lot of going on animation wise, voice acting, music. I mean, I'm going to cover it all in this, because I think a lot of people are sleeping on this show, and for no good reason. Maybe because, it just looks like it's just for kids. I don't care. I'm a grown ass man, and I'm watching this thing. I had a great time with it. So, the gist of this show, Lunella, she's in middle school, kind of a bit of a weirdo science nerd, a black girl weirdo science nerd living on the Lower East Side of Harlem with her family, who owns a skating rink. And her family, of course, in the traditional Disney Channel style, a bit wacky, in some ways. Dad's a bit wacky. Mom's down to earth. And then the grandparents are just, they're sort of keeping everything even. But there's clearly a lot of love in that family. And Lunella, she's not just precocious. She thinks she knows everything, and she sort of does. She's very, very smart. And she ends up creating a dimensional portal that brings Devil Dinosaur from the past. Devil Dinosaur being a big old red T-Rex. And they, over the course of the first episode, sort of, come to terms with him being there and, them coexisting and becoming partners. And that's, and also in the course of the first episode, you meet Casey, who, spoiler alert, becomes Lunella's only friend. Well, not only friend, but her first friend and her BFF and her publicist. And she, she's, an influencer and like super popular, but she wants to kind of be a publicist, and sees Lunella becoming Moon Girl as a kind of an opportunity to, stretch those skills and help her friend out and get more people on her side. So unlike Spider-Man, she becomes the friendly neighborhood superhero. And then many of the episodes just, revolve around her, as a superhero going around and fighting these villains who, mind you, some of them are made up for the show and some of them are from the comics. All of them are really very fun, fun villains. And the villains, they're not, they're not overly deadly or scary or anything like that. I mean, after all, Lunella is 12, and no matter how smart she is. So that the danger here is a little more Looney Tunes, less, Marvel Cinematic Universe. But that doesn't mean that this show doesn't know it's a comic book, property. And it leans a lot into like the super science and the ridiculous kind of, coincidences, and that people and, they live in the Marvel. It's basically a part, similar to Marvel Cinematic Universe. So there are other superheroes that are running around. People know and understand what's going on, and so people don't really, blink too much at the fact that there is a big red dinosaur running around, the Lower East Side, and that there's a young black girl jetting around after him, shooting people with bubbles and all this other stuff. It's good fun. This show also really, I think if it had just done that, cool, but I think it excels in the fact that the superheroics are a bit of a sideline to just watching Lunella and Casey sort of grow and learn as young ladies, and navigating many regular kid things like going to a sleepover, dealing with childhood fears, trying to being true to yourself, all that good stuff. There's every episode's got a message as usual. I mean, it is a kids show. It does have a message, an empowering message. I think there are a couple that kind of stand out. As one was about kind of an offhand comment from a young one of her classmates, a white girl in her class, about her hair and how supposedly messy it is, and leads her to try to straighten it with science, and it becomes like a big thing. And it's just kind of an analogy that even younger kids can understand about learning to not just accept yourself, but kind of love all parts of yourself. And it was especially for black girls, it's a very important message. Similarly, there's another episode, I couldn't believe it. Later on in the season, there's an entire episode about gentrification. Where'd that come from? Like this show doesn't shy away from messages about inclusion and diversity, and diversity of not just racial or ethnic or whatever, but also the importance of your culture and the culture of where you're from, and authenticity. There's a whole thing about the Lower East Side is really celebrated in this show. She's the superhero of the Lower East Side, and so we got to see the many diverse peoples that are there. It's quite fun, including at the school, at out and about in the neighborhood. As it goes on, I mean, it starts out as kind of a pretty typical kids show, but as the episodes move along, it's balanced out with home drama, and that the fact that Lunella is as smart as she is seems to have a solution for everything, but maybe technology doesn't solve every problem. And then they take the next step of saying, okay, this is a superhero world, let's do some wacky stuff. And we get, of all people, the Beyonder. The Beyonder is a villain as a character in this show. And if you're not a comics person, you won't get it. But you're watching the show, they'll explain it pretty well. But the Beyonder is one of the most esoteric, weirdo bad guys that has a ton of power and can do a lot of... I mean, think of, if you watch Star Trek The Next Generation, as Q. Just kind of the power to do a godlike power. And, Lunella ends up having a run-in with him and trying to figure out how to keep him from destroying the Earth. It's good, fun stuff, and the stakes are high, but it's not so stressful like for a kid's show. I thought it was really well handled, the way they went about that bit of Marvel Comics history without it being corny or weird or just like poorly handled. And that's just kind of the story of this whole show. They handle a lot of the lore and everything, without going overboard. And on top of that, they got the nerve to have excellent animation, just like dynamic, vibrant animation. There's a lot of cues from anime, but there's a lot of cues also from Disney animation from over the years. There's a lot of cues from comics themselves, word bubbles and onomatopoeia and all that good stuff. It's the color palette is great. It sometimes looks like a very stylized chalk drawing. there's a lot of impressionism. There's shadow and stuff. I mean, just as a animation critique, I think it's a beautiful show. Very well done. And the superheroic stuff is very dynamic also. And then it has great music. I mean, like, you know how in Scooby-Doo there's always a music break and they're, when they're running around or whatever. Something like that happens in every episode where music plays a big role in the action sequences whenever there's a superhero fight or something like that. And Lunella just puts on tunes, and there's, original songs for every episode, for every one of the episodes for that situation. The background music is great. It's very much lo-fi hip hop, in many ways. And also the title song, Moon Girl Magic, it's just catchy. It's a great song. And you get that every single episode. And then, sometimes it actually is in the episode itself. And the people who handle the music, perfect. Just did a great job. And the voice acting, awesome. There's you'd be surprised some of the names you get in there. I didn't even know some of these. Maya Hawke was in there. Luis Guzman, Lawrence Fishburne, who was an executive producer and helped bring this to the screen, was the Beyonder. You get Jermaine Fowler as Lunella's dad. And I could keep going on. There's just like there's a bunch of people in there. Fred Tatasciore, I think I'm saying his name right, is the voice of Devil. And you think, oh, he's just grunting or roaring, but like, no, his voice work is actually very dynamic and very important to this because Devil he's a full character. Even if he can't really speak in a way we understand, he's got thought bubbles in the way he grunts and growls or whines or whatever. It all means something. And Diamond White as Lunella and Libby Bearer as Casey, just great. I love the voice acting in this. There's many, many more people, that were in the show, and they all really did a great job. And then so just all together comes together in a really great package. That I think that if you have been sleeping on this, hey, I get it. It looks like a kid's show, a throwaway thing, doesn't mean anything. But, put that aside. Put your prejudice against animation aside. Put your prejudice against Disney Channel cartoons aside, which, by the way, you should be doing that anyway because they've got a lot of really great cartoons. But put all that aside and just think, I liked Spider-Verse, and I want to see something else with, like, the cultural specificity and authenticity, some fun, some stakes, nothing too tough. If your kids maybe found some of the stuff in Across the Spider-Verse maybe a bit tough, this is more their speed maybe. But even if you are grown up like I am, there's much good to be found in this show. And it ends on a big old cliffhanger at the end. There's a season 2 coming, and I cannot wait. I had high hopes for this show, really high hopes for this show, and they exceeded them in every possible way. I love this show. I cannot wait till next year hopefully next year we'll get the next season. And I just hope more people will stop sleeping on Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. So, those are my thoughts. What do you guys think about this? If you've seen it, if you haven't, why have you been sleeping on this? And when you do go and see it, let me know what you think. So get down to the comment section, leave your thoughts there. And of course, you can always hit me up, supernotfunnyshow@gmail.com or at supernotfunnys1 on Twitter. And while you're down there, do me a favor, hit like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell, all the good stuff. That interaction helps with the algorithm so that more people see these videos and see this channel. All right, thanks for joining me. Come back to the channel. We got plenty more reviews and podcasts coming up, so check all of that stuff out. Till then, I've been Mo, your commenter extraordinaire on all things pop culture, and I'll see you guys on the other side of the thread. Peace.